Before we dive into the film, where did you guys meet? Because Colorado, San Francisco, like where does this intersection happen?
We met working at a TV network in San Francisco. I'm originally from Colorado, but he is originally from Louisiana. But he went out there for school. And I was actually working in New York for TV Land and Nick at Night, and then I got recruited for the TV channel that he was working at, and he was doing a action sports show, and I made the commercials for his TV show.
Very cool.
That's right.
Yeah, I was trying to figure it out. I was like, how do these two meet?
Yeah.
It's weird, but no, it's perfect.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Where did the impetus to do this story start from? What was that starting point of wanting to tell this story?
Yeah. So Abby and I met working at a cable network together. Eventually left that network, started our own production company, did a lot of commercial work. And we wanted to make a feature documentary, and so we were kind of searching for ideas. I was a bit homesick for Louisiana at the time, and we were on vacation in Colorado where her parents live. We were at a bookstore in Denver, and we picked up an issue of the Oxford American, and it was the Louisiana music issue, and that's kind of what drew me to it. I was like, oh, I feel like home is speaking to me, and it had a CD in it, and on that CD was a song by Chris Stafford, who is in our film, and it was in Cajun French, but it was very modern and rock and roll, and I wasn't familiar with that growing up in Louisiana. There was no one my age that was playing music like that, but this sounded like a young person singing in Cajun French, but updated, and so we were kind of fascinated by it, and we were doing a lot of music documentary-oriented stuff for clients at the time, and it just seemed like there was something there worth exploring, so we just we kind of started nerding out on it on YouTube.
We went down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Just kept researching, looking into it, and then got in contact with some of the bands and ended up filming with Lavoi first. And
in San Francisco, though.
In San Francisco, yeah.
They happened to be, so we met them at South by Southwest. We were at South by Southwest for unrelated reasons, saw that they were playing a showcase, went to it, introduced ourselves, became friends, like eventually over time became friends with the bass player, but we met him that night. And he told us that they were coming to San Francisco in a couple of weeks to play shows. And so we were like, well, we want to shoot something with y'all. For us, it was more of seeing if there was something there that we could record other than just the music. And, we had all these ideas of like, we're going to follow you around in SF. Like, they didn't want to do any of that. They were like, y'all can film us if you like put together like a live music video for us. They were super cool about it. We were like, yeah, we can do that. And then we ended up shooting 2 of their shows, interview with them, just kind of making friends with them a little bit and feeling like, oh yeah, there's definitely something here that we can follow. And that was just sort of the very beginning of the project. But like from that shoot, there's like maybe 10 seconds in the film, you know what I mean? But that was kind of the genesis of it, and it just went from there.
On your website, you give a good definition, but I would love a further definition of the title and why you chose Roots of Fire. I think it's a really catching, fun thing, and I love that you try and explain it on the site. It is a part of this movie experience.
We chose Roots of Fire as the title because Roots is because of Roots music, and kind of like a tree, and there's a guy in the film who says this. It's like trees have roots, it kind of deep meaning, but also it grows, it kind of keeps going and blossoming as long as you keep watering it. But fire also, because fire can destroy things, and this culture is in jeopardy of going away. But fire also can bring life. Fire, like, you take with forests, it like kind of brings new life, new plants.
Well,
too.
it can be a life in and of itself.
Yes.
Fires grow and spread. And,
yeah, and also a lot of times when you just hear about Louisiana, it's a lot about like fire and hot and spicy and stuff like that. So there just seemed to be a lot of like that word kind of like meant a lot to the whole project. So it's just also really hot down there in the summer. So.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
I was actually in New Orleans 2 weeks ago, and I got to drive throughout the state. How important this isn't just one particular spot of Louisiana. I think this is encompasses a whole state, a whole feeling, a whole people. Can you talk a bit about this being bigger than maybe just a geographic area, that this is a culture?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's it, right? Like, a lot of the artists in the film live in the kind of general Lafayette area, which is called Southwest Louisiana. It's kind of like in the middle, southern part of the state.
Can't understand them, any of them.
But yeah, it's about cultural heritage and keeping a culture alive, and that, I think that spreads beyond Louisiana. But we were just talking to someone else about this. It actually transcends to other cultures. And one of the artists talks about it in the film. He's like, it's not just what we have that needs to be preserved or that we should fight for. You know, fight for the thing that you have too. You know what I mean? And I think that that's sort of a universal thread through the film, that like there are these unique things about individual cultures that are really important that kind of get lost with globalization. And it's important to hold on to those things and preserve them, specifically the parts that are valuable, you know. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, like diversity is what makes us unique and special, and we should embrace everybody's different cultures and learn about it. And like, what does Jordan say? He's like, it'd be so sad if there was one kind of food or one kind of music. Like, that's what makes the human culture wonderful, is to have all those different kinds of things. So got to keep it alive.
As far as the interviews coming, was it, I feel like you interviewed someone, they told someone, these guys are cool, you can talk to them, that it must have been that connective? Or was it separate and different and you picked and prodded your people?
Well, what's funny about it is that we didn't want to do interviews at all for this documentary. And so, like, the first couple years of working on it were almost like experimentation of, like, we would shoot live shows and we would try to convince the artists to let us shoot verite scenes with them. You know, so it'd be like, we'll shoot the show because all the musicians want their shows shot. And then it'd be like, but you need to let us, like, come to this party or, like, go to the house. And, like, you know, and it took many, many years of doing that and sort of getting invited to come to the house jam or the barbecue or the gumbo thing or whatever, to earn trust, but also like meet more people while we were doing that. And we worked with a lot of artists, like not just the ones that are in the film right now. Roots of Fire is actually a bigger project than this film, and so there's other short documentaries, there's more stuff that we want to do with different artists, and but yeah, you know, I've kind of lost my train of thought, but yeah.
We didn't, like he said, we didn't want to do actual sit-down interviews for the film. We wanted it to be a totally verite film. Originally. We ended up doing interviews to help, you know, kind of create the spine and make it, you know, put it together. But when we were doing our deep dive research on YouTube, we like kind of found the bands that really resonated with us. We had Filet, we had Pine Leaf Boys, we had Bonsoir Catan, and those were kind of the ones that really spoke to us. And so that's how we first went out for the people we wanted to like target.
And it was like band centric.
It was very band centric.
Pine Leaf Boys or whatever. But over time,
it became more about
these individuals, you know, who play in these bands or maybe play in other bands, you know, whatever. But it became more about these individual people and what their stories were like and how they came to the music and what it meant to them. And for a few of them, that had very deep cultural significance, you know. So it goes back to their parents or their grandparents being musicians, or maybe like with Christy, her grandfather feeling like he couldn't even go to Canada to play this festival he wanted to be because people were going to make fun of them for playing Cajun music. And so, you know, it became less about featuring your cool band and more about telling this interesting story that goes back in time, you know. So, yeah.
Jordan is a character in it, and he was actually I wouldn't say a last minute addition, but he was the last person to come into the film, and he was like, I want to say like 3 years ago, an addition to it,
yeah.
Which in the story of this film, which has been going on for like a decade, is very, very recent. And but he's such a big part of the film. Like, he really speaks a lot of what we had been trying to get across. He kind of speaks like the theme of the film. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question.
What does it mean to you to be at a festival that A, loves music docs, but loves different ways of telling those stories, not just your rock doc?
Yeah.
Oxford brings so much different variety. What does it mean to bring it to this festival, to this unique group of fans? And I feel like in the South, this is a very important festival, especially for music documentaries.
Yeah. I mean, the easiest thing for me to say to that question is that because it was literally the Oxford American that was the genesis of this film, it has this nice synergy. You know what I mean? Like, it feels really cool to world premiere here. Because without Oxford and the arts community here and that magazine, this film might not exist. So that's really all I have to say about that.
Yeah, it sort of feels like a weird fate or like kismet that it like kind of is where our world premiere is. And we've never been here before, but it just is like this really welcoming community. We've really enjoyed we've only been here a day, but we've really enjoyed we've really enjoyed our time. Everybody's been so welcoming, and it's just great. We went and saw the short docs for music, and it was just the diversity of what we saw just in that was really cool. So it's really great to be part of this.
Since you guys alluded that you have a lot of footage, a lot of stuff that's not in this film, how much of this process, this decade-long worth of diving into this, is not done and is still going to be your next few projects or next ideas? How much more can we see?
I can take
Not
that.
to put pressure on you.
Yeah. So from the footage that we have right now, there's probably a few more short documentaries we can spin out. We released a short documentary last year that kind of did the festival circuit called California Creole, which is about a Zydeco artist who lives in Richmond, California, grew up there. And that spun off from an early iteration of what the Roots Fire feature film was. At the time, there was a lot more comparing and contrasting Cajun and Zydeco and what they were and how they're different. Over time, the project developed, like we were talking about, into these personal stories, and we kind of shrunk the story down to make it resonate a little bit more. But it left a lot of the Zydeco stuff that we shot on the table. And we would love to take that stuff out of the archives and shoot some more stuff and make a Zydeco Roots of Fire. So that's kind of like the next. That's where this project goes after that, is raising money and trying to get that one done, And the thing about the Zydeco film that we want to do is Zydeco is just a bigger music genre. It has a lot more musicians. It's diverse in different ways, geographically, stylistically, and I think it'll just take us more resources to do it the way that we want to do it. So we're hoping that this film is successful enough to kind of build momentum into doing that story.
Where can people find out more about this film, about y'all, and about hopefully helping out with being viewers of what you will put out there for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find out about the film rootsoffire.com. We're on all the things as at Roots of Fire, so Instagram, Facebook. You can find out about us at lavoicreative.co, not .com.
It's actually lavoi.co.
Oh, I always get that wrong. Yeah.
So you can find out about us at lavoi.co.
I love the correction. That's beautiful. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for sticking with this project. It obviously is turning out to be something even bigger and more magical. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for having
Really
us.
appreciate it.